I call to order the regular meeting of the Lakewood City Council this evening on February 9th at 9/20/26 at 7:03 p.m. To connect online or to connect to the council meeting online, please use one of the following links at lakewoodspeaks.org or lakewood.org/council videos. For online public comments, you may post comments of any length to lakewoodspeaks.org. That is our online forum for public comments, and it will be left open through tonight and until 10 a.m. tomorrow morning for anyone who would like to leave comments regarding tonight's meeting. Anyone who would like to address the City Council this evening will have a number of times as we move through the agenda, including general public comment that'll come towards the latter part of this evening. Will the clerk please start us off by calling the roll?
Strom.
Here.
LeBure.
Here.
Ryan.
Here.
Kruzke.
Here.
Black.
Here.
Charzai.
Here.
Sinks.
Here.
Cruz I.
Here.
Lowe.
Here.
Furman.
Here.
Nystrom.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Strom, you have a quorum.
All right, thank you so much. And now is the point in the meeting where I'd ask if you're able to stand, please join us to do so for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing afterwards for a moment of silent prayer or reflection. All members of the City Council have the responsibility to comply with the terms of Charter 7.2B and excuse themselves from voting on any matter in which they determine they have a personal, financial, or business interest. The City Council is empowered by Charter 7.2B to agree by unanimous vote, excluding the member at issue, to excuse any member of the council from voting on a matter in which they determine such member has a personal, financial, or business interest. So this is a point in our evening where we have the initial public comment that allows for up to 10 speakers who have signed up prior to tonight's meeting to speak on non-agenda items. I do not have anyone that has signed up for the initial period of public comment tonight. So anyone who is here for general public comment will be on the latter portion of this evening. So with that, we move on to this evening's consent agenda. Are you signed up? Okay, it's under general public comment. That's in the latter part of tonight. Yeah, I'm sorry. That needs to be done before the meeting actually starts, to be signed up for initial public comment. Okay, we are on the consent agenda. Do we have any items requested to be pulled from this evening's consent agenda? Mayor Pro Tem Charzai.
Yes, I'd like to pull items 4A and 4C, please.
Okay, items 4A and 4C. Any others? Okay. Will the clerk please read the amended consent agenda into the record?
The amended consent agenda is comprised of the following items. Item 4B, R 2026-13, establishing certain water fees for customers of the City of Lakewood Water Utility. Item 5A, ordinances on first reading. O 2026-8, adopting Title 14, Chapter 30 of the Lakewood Municipal Code, establishing a building performance program for the City of Lakewood, Colorado. Item 5B, O 2026-9, authorizing a supplemental appropriation general funds to the 2026 annual budget in the amount of $155,000 and authorizing the expenditure of these funds by the City Clerk's Office to pay for the expenses related to the special municipal election to be held on April 7th, 2026. Item 6, approving minutes of the City Council meetings, regular City Council meeting December 8th, 2025, regular City Council meeting January 12th, 2026. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And, okay, so, well, I don't have anyone signed up to speak on consent agenda either. So we don't have any public comment for consent. Consent agenda now includes, or does not include, the two items that were removed. So Lakewood Sewer Utility. Does anybody wish to speak on the items remaining, which is the Lakewood Water Utility, as well as any council minutes? No? Okay. Well, seeing none, I would open up the floor to any council. Did you have something? No? Okay. All right. Any comments before voting? Okay, may I have a motion, please?
Mayor Strom, I move for the approval of the City Council minutes, order all ordinances introduced on first reading to be published in the Denver Post with public hearing set for the date included in the ordinance, and for adoption of resolutions, all of which are included in the consent agenda items introduced into the record by the city clerk.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I have no hands up. Any council questions, comments? Okay, go ahead and please cast your votes. All right, that passes 11 yeses and 0 noes. Okay, so that takes us to the first item that was removed from this evening's consent agenda. So this is the one regarding the Lakewood Sewer Utility. First, Mr. Rob, will you read item 4A into the record?
Item 4A, R 2026-12, establishing certain sanitary sewer fees for customers of the City of Lakewood Sewer Utility.
And may I have a motion, please?
I move for the adoption of Resolution 2026-12.
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor and a second. And with that, I know we had some questions. We've got our Director of Public Works, Maria DeAndrea, here this evening to give us a little bit more information. So if you wanted to go ahead and approach.
Certainly.
And while we're waiting, council, please, if you have questions about this particular agenda item, please go ahead and raise your hands. Mayor Pro Tem Sharzai.
Thank you. I pulled this item because we had, this is a sewer district that's in Ward 1, and we've heard from a number of community members, and I just thought it would be helpful if the public understood how enterprise funds work. And then also particularly the relationship with the West Alameda district, because I know that there's some carry through fees. So I'd love to see what you're going to present and then maybe follow up if there's questions that still remain.
Great, thank you very much. Yes, it can get very confusing. So it's helpful to start out to look at the map. Let's see, there we go. So this shows in various shades of green. We actually have 23 different sewer providers within the city, if you can believe that. And those different shades of green basically break up the city into those various geographic districts. The large area on the north, which is outlined in red, is the sanitary district that the city actually maintains, all of the mains, the pipes within that area. So anybody who's located within that area, their sewage goes out to the mains out in the street. That water is collected far over on the east side of that red outline, and it eventually makes its way down to near the South Platte River, where the Metro Water Recovery District actually treats all the water for the entire Denver metro region. The other districts also eventually move their sanitary sewer that way as well. And in some cases, in 4 particular situations, I believe the next slide shows this. So this is West Alameda Heights Sanitation, and then the Bondview Water and Sanitation District. Those are located just to the south there of the Lakewood Sewer Utility. Their mains that are within those 2 areas actually travel up and into the Lakewood Sewer Utility and then come through the city's mains to eventually reach Denver Metro. In the case of that one, just for example, in the middle, the Alameda Water and Sanitation District, all the names are kind of close too, which makes it extra confusing. That one moves via pipes in a different direction to eventually get to Denver Metro. So because of that, the Lakewood Sewer Utility, because those two districts are actually moving their sewage through the city's pipes, that eventually goes out to Denver Metro, we do charge them a service or fee for that per connection or tap fee. The Federal Center also runs their sewage through us, as does the Daniels Sanitation District, and those aren't shown on this map. So it's a little bit different in each case, but while what we're here tonight is to set the sanitation rates for the Lakewood Sewer Utility, as well as the rates for the service charge for those areas that run West Alameda and Bonneview that run through the Lakewood Sewer Utility. So that's what we're here to do tonight. Then, for example, again, whether it's the Green Mountain, Alameda, some of the other ones shown there, they set their own rates. So the city has no control over that. The city does not actually influence that in any way. So it's really up to them how they manage their utilities, their mains, and then ultimately how they get their sewage to the Denver Metro recovery and the charges that Denver Metro charges them. So we have no say in that whatsoever. Thanks, Jake. So there just shows that red arrow that basically all of the sewage from Lakewood is moving out towards the Metro water recovery. And that plant is located down near the South Platte River, sort of on the western side of the downtown area. Okay. That's just a different outline that shows the picture in the lower left, shows the sanitation district in relation to the entire boundary of the city. So again, we serve just a portion of the overall city, whereas those other 22 districts serve the remainder. Our sewer rates are intended to cover all the costs of service, meaning that there are no general fund revenue that comes to the sewer utility fund, and none of the revenue that's generated by the utility goes towards anything else. So 100% of the revenue that comes in is used to cover the costs associated with the sewer utility. And that includes things like staff, certain personnel that's used to clean the mains, to maintain the system, as well as those charges for Denver Metro. And then ultimately replacing those mains, keeping them in shape, all of that goes with that. The actual cost of treating the wastewater by Denver Metro equates to about 70% of our budget in any given year. So that's a significant portion of that. And then the other 30% essentially is what goes towards operating, maintaining the system, and those capital improvements to either replace or line, in most cases, sanitary sewer mains to keep them in good condition. And this just shows the increases that are planned. So it equates for the service charge. The bill is made up, and it's a bi-monthly, meaning every other month, that our residents within that sewer utility area receive a bill. And that's made up of a service charge, which is a once per every 2 months fee just to maintain the system. And then the volume charged is based on actually how much water you use, which assumes that the majority of that goes down the drain and becomes sewage. So because of that, we don't take into account summer usage, where you're usually watering your lawn in the summer months. So instead we use the actual water usage from any particular home. So we measure that, and then that goes into calculating what your sewage charge is for the rest of the remainder of the year. So as you can see there, the rates are increasing roughly 4.5%. So going up just over 40-some cents for the service charge, again on a bi-monthly basis. And then the volume charge per 1,000 gallons would go up by 27 cents. For a typical bill, which is, again, you're using about 8,000 gallons of water in the winter months, that would equate to, if you add up the service charge plus the volume charged at 8,000 gallons of sewage, would equate to just under $60 every 2 months, or about $30 per month. So again, those two wholesale customers, which is Bonneview Metro Water and Sanitation District and the West Alameda Heights Sanitation District. We do charge them a rate per tap fee, so any per property essentially. And that charge is increasing from $79.47 to $83.44, which is roughly just about 5% increase. So the rate before you tonight, we have published that. We have put notice of this on the city's website under our utility billing section. And if this goes into effect or is passed by council tonight, it would go into effect on April 1st. And those first bills that would go out to the public within, again, just the sewer utility area would be sent in May of this year. So with that, I'm happy to answer any more specific questions. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, just one more follow-up question. In the interim, if this passes tonight, and I'm supportive of this, modest and necessary, but will there be additional information on their bill to let them know? Because that's what I've been hearing from folks, is just what's the best way for them to understand when rate changes happen? Get that it's posted on the website, but are there other ways?
Yes, we can certainly look into, we do have the ability to do a mailing insert with the bill when they go out. And so we can certainly look into that to provide more information to our own residents within the Lakewood Sewer Utility. The folks in those other districts, it really has to come from their own sanitation districts. So we're happy to answer those questions, be a point of contact, but really it's got to come from their own district. Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. DeAndrea, or Director DeAndrea? Director.
I'll take it.
All right, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here to walk us through that this evening. Council, do we have any other thoughts, questions before we move forward on this? Okay, all right. We have a motion on the floor and a second. Please go ahead and cast your votes. That passes 11 yeses and 0 nos. Will the clerk please read 4C into the record?
Item 4C, R 2026-14, a resolution encouraging the registered electors of the City of Lakewood to vote no on ballot question 1 at the April 7, 2026 special municipal election regarding a referendum seeking repeal of Ordinance 2025-27, an ordinance concerning replacing Articles 6 through 14 of Title 17 of the Lakewood Municipal Code.
Okay, thank you. And why don't we go ahead and put a motion on the floor?
Mayor, I move for the adoption of Resolution 2026-14.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. And by pulling these items off the consent agenda, we admittedly made public comment a little bit more complicated, although I do not have anyone signed up to actually speak to it when it was on consent agenda, nor thereafter. Mr. Fernandez, were you planning to speak to zoning by chance? No. Okay. Then we'll keep you on non-agenda, but otherwise I was going to invite you to speak to zoning. Do we have anyone that would like to speak to this resolution? Okay, Ms. De La Cruz. Yeah, we'll have you sign in after. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chantel. I live in Ward 1. I live in Union Square in West Lakewood, a neighborhood that is 88% shared walled housing, apartments, duplexes, townhomes, and condos. Only 12% of our homes are single family. That didn't happen because residents chose it. It happened because old zoning laws forced it. I lived in our neighborhood going on 14 years, and as of now, 64% of my neighborhood is apartment buildings. Not because Union Square asked for them, but because for decades this was the only place they were allowed to go. And as Lakewood has grown, when the city needed somewhere to put new apartments, it wasn't the neighborhood that surrounds me. The answer had been Union Square. But housing isn't the only thing shaped by zoning in my neighborhood. As people were added, the corridor next to us was held back. Union Boulevard remains underutilized, locked into outdated zoning that favors single-use buildings and large parking lots that remain unused. Growth was pushed inward while the corridor itself was prevented from evolving alongside the neighborhood, never reaching its full potential. I love my neighborhood. I love it because it's connected. Different housing types bring different people together, and that diversity is our strength. We also have 3 public parks, soon 6 more acres of public open space, mature trees, and we're home to 2 RTD light rail stops. Union Square proves that density and livability can indeed coexist. What hurts us isn't density. What hurts us is how we were created. Old zoning rules didn't just shape our buildings, they shaped lives. They concentrated renters here. They limited entry-level ownership. They restricted how homes could adapt as people's lives changed, and they separated housing from opportunity by freezing the corridor in place. Today we live with the consequences. Zoning created Union Square. Zoning concentrated growth here. And zoning decisions will determine whether that pattern continues or whether we finally begin to share growth and opportunity more fairly across the city. That's why I'm here to speak for my neighborhood and to say this clearly to the people of Lakewood. Vote no to stop a rezoning rollback. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. I know we do have some comments that some counselors would like to make, and we do have one amendment that we'll maybe start with this evening.
Do we want to start with the amendment?
Yeah. Okay, so we have an amendment, and it is up on the screen so everybody can read. Mayor Pro Tem, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to submit for council consideration an amended version of the resolution this evening that moves us away from 4 separate resolutions and moves us towards one resolution, which I hope we will pass tonight, asking the Lakewood voters to vote no on ballot questions 1, 2, 3, and 4. Part of this reasoning is just, it's clear, we've heard this in chambers, and we've also are seeing it on Lakewood Speaks. Community members are eager to see this go to a vote of the people. That is happening on April 7th. And this, having multiple opportunities to show favor or non-favor towards many resolutions, I don't think helps us get any closer to that a special election. That is happening, and so I would advocate for us to make our decision tonight on whether or not we want to put this resolution out to support this and allow the voters to take the time from now until April 7th to get informed. So with that, I would love to just offer up the version that is on the screen behind me, and I think in presentation mode for you all, and happy to walk through that or answer any questions.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second.
I don't think I realized I was making a motion, but yes.
So the basic gist is throughout that resolution where it previously or on Lakewood Speaks now, it just says the one, that it aligns it with the one ballot question that is Articles 6 through 14. The proposed amendment would be to wrap it in so that it throughout a couple of different, I think it was 2 or 3 different places throughout the resolution, it just broadens it up to ballot questions 1, 2, 3, and 4, rather than just 1. So with that, do we have any council conversation, questions? Do you want additional amendments? Or?
Yeah, point of information. There's just a couple of other references in the actual sections to, yeah.
Yes. Wrong thing. On page 4, the first full whereas would need to be removed. And so I don't know that we need to, I think that that's just clerical cleanup, but open to discuss if others feel like we need to go through and clean up.
And just point of clarification, I think there's one more cleanup in section 2 at the very bottom, right? If you want, just maybe scroll all the way to the bottom, Jay. Right. Yeah. Of course, our staff has already, or our mayor pro tem, or both of them have already figured all this out. But right, those are the changes that need to be made.
And then one more. And
then one more, just the date in the title is still listing March 31st.
yeah. Yeah. So that includes adding the, I mean, you guys see it on the screen, adding ballot questions 1, 2, 3, and 4, removing the whereases that align with specific articles that were within tonight's 6 through 14. So we're opening it up more broadly to encompass all of the articles throughout the entire thing, adjusting the date to March 31st, and the other redlined items that are mentioned there, the numbers of the ordinances and the sort. Do we have any council questions? Everybody's got a copy of it, so. Okay, so Councilor Isabel Cruz.
Thank you. Not a question, but just wanted to say appreciation for putting the 4 together. I think it's helpful because I think, whichever side folks are going to be on this, they're all connected. They have references to each other, and I think it's helpful to talk about all of them together. And so I think this will decrease confusion for our residents. So appreciate the change.
Mayor Pro Tem.
No other hands?
Nope.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say the intention here is to give people more time to get informed in front of the election. April 7th will come quickly, and we know that special elections often come within a kitten's whisper of each other, and we want to make sure that people are informed on that. So thanks for entertaining this.
Councilor Sinks, then Councilor Lowe.
Thank you. I see another benefit of it. As issues are brought up, and that's a very important thing, that constituents talk about the issues, not, oh, look how bad city council is, blah, 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 you didn't do this or that. But as you stick to the issues, then under this, you don't have to know whether the issue that you're talking about is under which thing we'll be voting on. You can just address any issue that you don't like, whether it be, parking, which is found later. I don't like getting rid of parking in transit zones. That would be an issue to bring up, for example. Of course, I don't agree with that statement, but any statements that you want to make that are based on issues would be welcome and easy for you to do under this resolution. And that's what we encourage you to do. Talk to us and write about the issues that you disagree with or agree with in the entire zoning ordinance. Thank you.
Councilor Lowe.
Just out of an abundance of clarity on this point, just because it was said a couple different ways, we're going to say the April 7th special election in the final thing, right? That's, the amendment includes that.
The two changes that the city council wanted in addition to what's on the screen is the amendment in the title to show that it's April 7th and match up with section 1 below, and to remove the whereas clause, which I believe is whereas clause 24, but it's the one about multi-year efforts. So those are the two requests, and they've been made.
Thank you.
Okay, then I see no hands up, which tells me you are ready to vote. Councilor Lowe.
All right, well, if there's really no more hands, I am delighted that we're doing all of this in one fell swoop instead of 4. And I think that's the right move. And this being the only opportunity to speak on zoning between now and the April 7th election, I do have a couple of comments that I'd like to make. You know, we've heard a great deal about this issue in this chamber, and I'm sure we'll continue to hear about it. And folks are going to have an opportunity to vote on this and make themselves heard, whichever side of this issue they're on. And democracy is a beautiful thing, and I am looking forward to the results of this election. I wanted to just take a few minutes to remind folks, because I've heard so much information and so much comment about this issue, and frankly, some of it is just wrong. I thought it might be useful to set a couple of things straight. What does this code not do? Let me mention a couple things that it doesn't do. It does not change residential height, setback, or open space requirement. Doesn't do that. If you live in a residential neighborhood right now, the height limit was 35 feet before, it's 35 feet now. The setback was 25 feet before, it's 25 feet now. The open space requirement was 50% of the plot of land before, it's 50% of the plot of land now. There are abundant design standards in place to respect character of the neighborhood, and thanks to Councilors Ryan and Furman, there's going to be supplementary standards specifically for missing middle housing. A couple of folks have said, and they've proclaimed this on yard signs, that it will, quote, bulldoze your neighborhood. Will it? No. How do we know that? Aside from any number of other things I could say, the city of Portland, Oregon put something very similar in effect, very similar, and demolitions of residential properties did not go up after the zoning reform went into effect at all. Let me say that again. Demolitions in the entire city of Portland, Oregon, in the years after the zoning reform put into effect versus before, didn't increase at all. So no, this is not going to bulldoze your neighborhood. Is it going to steal your parking spots? No. Why? Because builders have a strong incentive to build based on market demand. And in most properties, people want parking spots. They will continue to build parking spots. That won't change. All that will change is the government won't tell builders they have to build more parking spot than the neighborhood or the market needs. Does this ban horses? No, it doesn't. If you live in a large property that's conducive to horses, you can continue to raise horses for the rest of your life. And you can pass that property on to your kid. And they can raise horses on it. And they can pass it on to their kid. And your neighbors can do the same. All that changes is if your neighbor wants to take the property and put some additional housing on it, they can. If they don't want to do that, they don't have to. And by the way, if anyone wants to deed restrict their property in perpetuity so it can never be changed, they can do that too. Does it allow someone to build an apartment building next to you in your residential neighborhood? No, it does not. Why? Because there are dimensional safeguards that prevent that. We actually put in place, in response to a lot of community feedback, safeguards that say you can't build more than 5,000 square feet. That's a new safeguard. That will prevent large, oversized buildings from being plopped down in the middle of residential neighborhoods. The apartment buildings that people keep saying could be built in a residential neighborhood vastly outstrip that footprint. So no one's building apartment buildings in a residential neighborhood as a result of this. All of that is misinformation. So what does it do? Well, there's a couple of folks that keep saying over and over in this chamber that this doesn't do anything to increase affordability. That's wrong. It's just flat out wrong. In fact, it's wrong 4 different times. There are 4 completely different ways in which this is going to increase affordability. What are those ways? Number 1, we're going to allow people to take a residential home and turn it into a duplex or triplex for the first time citywide. Why will that make things more affordable? Folks, because a duplex or a triplex is more affordable. It's smaller. If you're a teacher or a senior looking to downsize or a young resident looking for a starter home, obviously being able to buy or rent a duplex or triplex is more affordable. It's common sense. It's also backed by the data. In Portland that did this, the for sale price of a duplex or triplex or missing middle housing was $250,000 to $300,000 less than the for sale price of a comparable single family unattached house. And we saw the same effects in Kalamazoo, Michigan. We've seen the same effects in cities in Minnesota that have put in place common sense reforms like this. But that's not all. In addition, we've got more demand for more people are moving to this region and they want more housing. And so gently increasing the supply of housing over time, just basic supply and demand. When demand is going up, if you constrain supply, prices are going to go up. You increase supply, that helps prices not skyrocket. We've seen that in other cities, and we're going to see that here in Lakewood. It does away with parking minimums in transit corridors and for affordable housing. Not everywhere, not citywide, like Denver did, but with guardrails. And we actually heard in chambers, in response to questions, that we asked that some projects that are planning affordable housing will be able to add more affordable units as a result of rolling back those parking minimums for transit corridors and on affordable housing. And thank you, Ken Cruz, for amending that to allow parking minimums to be rolled back specifically for affordable housing. That will make this code even more affordable. And fourth and finally, there's another way in which increases affordability. My constituent, Shane, wrote an op-ed in Westward about this. He's in IT. He's worried about losing his job. And he would really like to be able to turn his house into a duplex. Why? Because he could get a lot more income from it. He could rent it out to someone, right? If he loses his job, that cuts his mortgage payment of well over $3,000 in half. It increases resiliency. It increases affordability. I've got a lovely lady who cuts my hair once every 6 weeks. She's expecting she's going to start a family soon. She's desperately looking to rent housing. She could rent an apartment building, but she's starting a family. She doesn't want a single bedroom apartment. She wants a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom unit. And she can't find one because she can't afford a single, unattached home, but she does need more than a single apartment. She works right here in Lakewood. She's living in Lone Tree, and she's going to rent a place in Aurora because there's no supply here. For her, for lots of frontline workers, for seniors, for folks like Shane that are looking for more resiliency, for all of those reasons, it will increase affordability for folks looking for affordable options, but also for folks who live here right now. I have one other thing I want to say, but I'm past my 5 minutes. So I'm going to stop and see if anyone wants to respond to that. I'm going to say one more thing about all this, and then I'm looking forward to voting on this.
Councillor Ike Cruz.
Thank you. And my colleague, Councilor Lowe, outlined a lot of the important logistics of the code and what has gone into it and what it does on the affordability front, so I appreciate you for doing that. I'll be brief. I just wanted to speak on why I'll be supporting this resolution for our city council to adopt the position of no on these 4 questions. And when I ran, my slogan, my tagline, my way for people to understand my values was I'm running to make Lakewood more inclusive, sustainable, and full of opportunity for everyone. And to me, with all of the work that went into our zoning code last year, I lived up to those values by allowing for opportunities for more sustainable, compact housing that will be resilient in our climate future, for a more affordable Lakewood where any kids I have someday and hopefully their kids can have an opportunity to live in Lakewood and to afford to buy a home, which I know many folks my age and younger just really don't have access to in the current climate. And I also am doing this for my neighborhood. I live in a single family home in a neighborhood that is zoned currently and has been zoned for a long time for higher density. And I have the privilege of having more neighbors with a quadplex just down the block and with a duplex across the street that allows my older neighbor and her disabled daughter to live together and to make that an affordable situation on their fixed out incomes. And so I hope for this in other people's neighborhoods, whereas across kind of a street that I live in, a street that I live near, just maybe 3 blocks from my house on the other side of Carr, there is that's zoned differently, right? And a house on that block, which I've seen, they've made some beautiful cosmetic upgrades to, don't want to degrade their work, but just 3 years ago, sold for around $450,000, and just this year sold for $950,000. That is the situation we're in, and that is why I will be voting no on to reject the repeal of our updates and to work for a brighter future full of more opportunity for all in Lakewood. So that is why I will be voting to support this resolution.
Councillor LeBure, and then Councillor Kate Cruz.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, so I just want to start by acknowledging, I think what a lot of people have already said, Lakewood, like most communities across the country, does certainly face real housing affordability challenges. Families across various incomes are feeling the pressure, and I think that's real and deserves serious, thoughtful solutions. I also think it's important to acknowledge that national research certainly tells us that groups such as the Urban Institute have certainly made the case that upzoning can certainly increase housing supplies. So to Councilor Lowe's point, he makes a lot of those very clear and well-articulated points. But one of the concerns I've had continuously throughout this process is when we look a little bit more local, I feel like Lakewood's challenges are complicated, and it's not just because of the zoning alone. It's because of the high cost of land, high construction costs, our permitting process that can involve multiple agencies and long timelines. We've even had economists come to our city council and tell us that today, most developments today couldn't pencil out in Lakewood. But the biggest issue I see really that I'm concerned about is political instability around housing policy that creates uncertainty and discourages investment in housing production in Lakewood. And to make this point a little bit clearer, last time we did a zoning rewrite in 2015, I think it tells an important story because before that, 2014 to 2018, Lakewood permitted about 900 to 1,100 homes per year. After the growth cap that the citizens initiated, production dropped dramatically to just 134 permits a year in 2021, and only a few hundred per year ever since. So that's a 70–80% reduction compared to previous years, even when zoning allowed more density and allowed for more projects ostensibly to be built. I mean, if you think of our major corridors, most of them are zoned to 120 feet or 12 stories, all up and down Colfax and Sheridan and Alameda. But yet we don't see the kind of housing production we need to really kind of address the housing issues throughout our city. So I want to be clear, there's parts of this proposal that I certainly supported. But I am concerned about the process, our local process challenges. I'm concerned about our inability to bring the community along for these changes to actually hold. And I think this election will be very useful for all of us. I think it'll be telling to get a sense of where the voters are really at, so I'm really looking forward to that. But I really want to, harp on that political stability and needing to bring the residents along because, I did some forecasting analysis and based on historic trends, if we just maintained the production that we had before the growth caps, we would have built 5,400 to 6,600 homes. And instead, in the last 10 years, we built closer to 2,000 homes. And I say that's the kind of challenge we're dealing with. If you're not able to bring the residents along with your plan, you're going to have less housing built, especially in a market like this where housing isn't really being built. So that's why I think threading the needle and kind of trying to figure out where the residents are and bring them along, that's been my strategy the whole time. So we'll see what happens. I don't think I'll support the resolution today, but I appreciate everybody's perspectives, and I certainly agree that we need to get more housing and we need to figure out the right way to do it.
Councillor Ken Cruz, then Councillor Nystrom, then Councillor Furman.
Yeah, I want to begin by acknowledging the community members who took the time to engage throughout this process, those who showed up at community roundtables, asked questions, and offered thoughtful feedback. Alongside Councillor Nystrom, we intentionally created multiple roundtables for community input, and people use them. And because of that engagement, the zoning code is not what it was when it first started. As a result of community participation, we incorporated over 30 amendments focused on sustainability, safeguards, and neighborhood considerations. And for me, that matters. And I want to be clear that those opportunities are what help shape what the zoning code is, and I believe they're real and meaningful. I also want to say plainly that I do take community dialogue seriously, not just during major policy moments, but throughout implementation. And I'm committed to ensuring those opportunities for engagement continue as we move forward if it does move forward. I support this zoning update not only because of what's written in the code, but because the process that brought us here. It was a process that was shaped by public input. It was refined through amendments, and it's supported by a council that understands that the work doesn't end with tonight or the vote in April. I'm confident that if adjustments are needed as this code is implemented, that those conversations will continue to happen. And for myself, I can commit that I will continue to make myself available for dialogue and community feedback moving forward. So for those reasons, I do support this resolution and will be voting no this coming April.
Counselor Nystrom.
Thank you. I just want to say that it's interesting that there's so few people here this evening, but I'm actually heartened by that. The vitriol and what this has devolved into, to me, is really disappointing. People are on different sides of this issue for different reasons, but that doesn't mean they're wrong. It doesn't mean they're ignorant, and we shouldn't be calling people names and throwing them under the bus because of their position. As Councilor Cruz mentioned, Kay Cruz, Councilor I. Cruz had some good points too. But yes, we've got tremendous amount of valuable input from residents, and some of them were incorporated, and they're still very much opposed to this because of the process we went through and because of the map. I personally feel like this is a workable code. It has a lot of positive things, including such as converting empty office buildings into housing, targeting underutilized properties for housing. There's a lot of, we were able to incorporate more environmental changes, but I think there's more work that needs to be done. And I think, this body could continue to work and make this better. But I just think that we have alienated a lot of residents, and we've aggravated the situation just by the process that we went through. We had some good discussions about the comp plan not being just advisory, but I still think at the end of the day, there's a lot of gaps there. My biggest concern at this point with this is that we don't have programs in place to guarantee affordable housing will be built. And even equally important, that ownership opportunities will be available. Littleton had an affordable housing fund before their zoning was passed. They went through the same process, and it was rejected by the voters. I'm hoping we can learn from that, and I still think we have time to coalesce around this and make improvements that might be more palatable for people. I've had some very good conversations with counselors on different sides of this issue today. Let me touch on Portland for a minute. First of all, there's 2.5 million people in the Portland metro area. The city itself has 600,000 people. It's a very, very different situation than what we're experiencing here. And I want to say that Portland has 5 programs that support affordable housing. They have a Metro Affordable Housing Bond, which is $652.8 million. The Portland Housing Bureau, which finances construction of affordable housing. They have an affordability mandate that requires apartment buildings with 20-plus units to include affordable housing for households at or below 60% of the AMI. They have a rental services office fund and a direct financial assistance fund. We don't have that. I think as a body, we agree we need an affordable housing fund, and we are going to start rolling up our sleeves and working on that, and I hope we get it done sooner rather than later. But right now, this zoning code as it stands is not going to assure anyone that that's going to happen. Bottom line is Colorado is an expensive place to live. We're in the top 5 to 10 in many categories in terms of cost of living, taxes, insurance, energy costs, all of these things. And our economic downturn now is making this worse. On top of that, we have a construction defects law, and we are one of only 5 states in the country with this law. And I was in a meeting a few weeks ago with architects, engineers, and people that fund construction projects. And they said that is the #1 impediment to them building. As Councilor Buer mentioned, we now have kind of created this environment where developers don't want to come to Lakewood willingly. It's not their first choice, and that's really unfortunate because, again, in all of my conversations with people at roundtables, et cetera, I met 2 people that said they don't want any more growth in Lakewood. I think we all know that's not realistic. But everybody else recognizes that we need more housing, we need affordable housing. The question is, are we going to impose it on people's neighborhoods over their objections? Or are we going to work with them and find a viable solution? I think we've identified enough areas and we have met the state's requirements for density in transit areas. So we need to find a way to build in those areas, and we need to fill in our infill city. I just, like, these things are just fundamental to why people are upset about this issue. You know, we have an opportunity as a community and a council to come together and work to make this the best situation possible. You know, it's not something that we should just unilaterally impose on people. And I think, you know, you've heard enough from everyone about their opinions on this on both sides of the issue. But again, this isn't you're wrong, I'm right, and we're going to do it this way. We need to be working with the community and bringing them along with us. You know, I can't emphasize enough how important that is, and that's, I believe, why we are here where we are today, because we're not listening enough and we're not incorporating that messaging into this. And I know there's been a tremendous amount of work on the part of staff and everyone else, lots of, you know, workshops and things of that nature, but at the end of the day, people are still upset about the way that we want to approach this, and I think that can be better. So I will not be supporting this evening.
Counselor Furman, then Counselor Black, then Counselor Sinks.
A lot has already been said, so I don't know that I need to add that much to this. I mean, I respect the concerns people have about potential change. And I think there is, out of that, there is reasons for discussion. I just implore people to make sure that they are getting good information, that they are researching this and they're understanding it, because there continues to be a variety of information out there, much of which is either intentionally or unintentionally not true. I don't know why that is, because I think there are reasons to discuss this. There are, if again, it comes down to the matter of issues, I think there are things people can discuss about it. But at the end of the day, I'd like people to take the time to understand what we're really looking at here, because the reality is this is giving essentially property owners greater rights over their property. It's a subtle, organic move to allow for the potential for affordable housing. It is a serious attempt at being gentle in how the city allows for greater opportunities for affordable housing. It is something that is meant to be subtle and is not dramatic. Essentially, a lot of the things that people keep mentioning to me that they're concerned with tend to be things that are not impacted or frankly are more restricted by this. And so, again, I implore people to reach out and ask questions. I implore people to look up the information, understand really what they're looking at, and I respect the process. And so that's all I needed to add. Thank you.
All right, Counselor Black.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm so appreciative of all of my co-counselors' comments. Counselor Lowe in particular, I appreciate your passion for this issue and your resolve to continue moving these things forward in a way that really helps us understand. So I'm not going to take too much time because everyone said a lot of stuff. I just want to say I really ran on two things, and those were a commitment to environmentalism and climate change resilience in our cities, and also affordable housing. So speaking on the environmentalism impacts of the zoning changes, we know statistically that these types of projects, duplexes and triplexes, utilize up to 20 to 30% fewer resources because those resources are pooled into multiple connected projects instead of one single project. Additionally, on the environmentalism front, some of these infill projects can help to limit suburban sprawl, which I know is an issue for so many of us that live in Colorado, as we're losing our natural spaces, our vistas, our views. And if we can create more infill in the spaces that already have some density, then we can hope to protect these urban and suburban wildlife habits that I think are so important to all of us, particularly those of us that live in Lakewood. And then finally, that as someone that lives walking distance to a light rail station, we know that density around multimodal transportation can help increase usership and ridership. And I think that's going to be significant in the coming years as we look at the impacts of climate change in particular and the ways that people move through cities. And then I also just want to say that I think diversity of housing stock is critical for our city's future. So we know that we are facing some dramatic changes to the ways that people live. For instance, we're seeing significantly more single individuals living in homes. We're seeing a significant drop in the number of people that have children and the number of children that are born. And we're also going to see an incredible rise in our aging population over time. And as a new city councilor, I start to think to myself, is our commitment just to the residents that live here today, or are we tasked as an oversight body with looking at the impact to our city in the coming years in the future? And I just think we have to look toward what will be statistically, and we have to think about the ways in which our policy impacts today will shape that future. I'm for more diversity in housing stock for all the reasons that I just listed, and that's why I'll be supporting this resolution and why I support a change to the zoning code. And that's it. Thanks.
Counselor Sinks, then Counselor Ryan.
Thank you. So I moved into my house probably, I think it's 22 years ago now. And so I would walk the dog and walk on a street close to my house. And it's like, wow, look at that lot. It has an underground house, you know, just an old, and this much is sticking up out of the ground, you know, and it's an underground house. Like, wow, that's interesting. Well, you can probably imagine what happened. It was bulldozed, I don't know how many years ago, 10, 15 years ago. And the zoning code does not allow for a duplex to go in there. Guess what went in? A McMansion went in. And I didn't hear anybody complain about that underground house being bulldozed. And things can still be bulldozed, really. You know, people can buy lots, tear down the old one, but they can't put up duplexes. They can put up McMansions, which I think would be worse in this day and age, now that the state has passed that any number of people within the safety regulations can now live within that McMansion, as opposed to what might live in a duplex, triplex, for example. So that's pretty amazing to me that we don't allow for the poorer, the more affordable kinds of housing. We only allow for the big houses, you know, that are 35 feet high, et cetera. And so I'm a firm believer, you know, that definition of insanity, where you, and don't get me wrong, I'm not cutting anybody down and saying they're insane, but you know, that well-known, you can't do the same thing over and over and expect different results. The same thing is going to bring the same results. And so I really believe that we have to do things differently if we want an integrated city that's more affordable and and brings sustainability. And I really do think that not much will change if the voters vote no on April 7th. I don't think we'll see a big change. You know, the bulldozers aren't coming in, you know, right away. And so it'll take a while, I believe. But again, I think that the difference will be coming over time. Maybe young families with small children will then move back in because they can afford it. And that's my hope for the city. And I know that that's the hope of people here. We're looking for a better plan. and not the same old plan. And I just don't think we can keep doing the same thing. We don't like all the apartment buildings that are being built. We don't like our high property taxes, etc. So we have to do something different. And I believe that this new zoning ordinance will take a step in the right direction. And so I will be supporting this resolution and voting no by April 7th. Thank you.
Councilor Ryan, you get to bring us home.
Thank you, Mayor. Many of you know that I voted no on the new zoning ordinances. And although I'm supportive of its concepts, I think our consultants skipped a few steps before they brought it to us. With that said, I'm grateful that after the ordinances were approved, this council also approved 2 measures to allow the city staff to study and bring forward further recommendations to address some of the steps, and Councilor Lowe referenced one of those. In short, work on the ordinances continues. Still, this vote tonight is not whether to approve the ordinances. Obviously, we had that vote. Instead, tonight's vote is to recommend whether voters should repeal the new zoning ordinances. At its core, the question tonight is whether I would recommend voters readopt the old zoning ordinance. If the old zoning ordinance was brought to us today, I would vote no. If the old zoning ordinance was brought to us today, I'd recommend others to vote no. I cannot recommend that voters approve the old zoning ordinance. One thing that we should all be able to agree upon is that under the old zoning ordinances, we're building 2 things. We're building apartments and we're building multi-million-dollar homes or million-dollar homes, except for a few that perhaps might have been subsidized. We've resigned ourselves that we must settle for those 2 depressing choices. Nothing on the horizon suggested that that was going to change. Will the new zoning ordinance as implemented free us from having to settle for either apartments or those multi-million-dollar homes? I don't know. I do know that if we go back to the old system, that reality of having 2 choices of apartments or million-dollar homes would be our reality, and that would be what would continue. That status quo cannot continue. I also know that I'm willing, and I know I've heard from others on council who are also willing to continue to work on the zoning, to continue to make changes, to adopt changes. This council's already voted on at least 2 measures that city staff is going to bring to us to look at further. For the voter asking me, what would I recommend? My answer is to vote no on the repeal and help us do the work of continuing to improve the zoning ordinances.
All right. Well, we have one more hand up, but before we do that, I'll be brief in mine. All of you were very eloquent and intentional, deliberate, thoughtful, all the things with regards to your comments on this tonight. And the one that I just want to reiterate is that we've heard over and over again from our residents that we need more diversity of housing stock. We need housing stock that fits lots of different budgets, not just apartment buildings that, to be honest with you, are $2,000 a month, or large houses. We also work very hard to thread that needle, as Councilor Black had mentioned. Who are we making decisions for? We're making decisions for our children here today that are living in our homes with us that will want to find a home somewhere close by if we're lucky as an adult, but we're also looking for more options for maybe our aging older adults, parents, grandparents that have been going to the same church for 30 years, living in the same neighborhood probably for that long, and are looking for a way to downsize and stay within our community. And right now, we don't have a lot of options for those folks to be able to stay here. And so what we're seeing, like Councilor Lowe's hair cutting person, the title, I'm not, hairdresser, thank you. That's just a little hard to say with a guy, but yeah, haircuts. That we're creating congestion. We are creating congestion by not having the diversity of housing stock within our own community. So I too will be voting no on April 7th, and I am very looking forward to supporting this resolution tonight and hopefully the zoning code thereafter. And as Councilor Kay Cruz had mentioned, this is not the end. This council has made it clear time and time again that we are enthusiastic about hearing public comment. Do we take all of it? No. But we want to hear it, and policy is made better by doing that listening and doing the sitting down, but then also knowing that we want to continue to look at these things and understand where are challenges in our community and where can we find those opportunities to make it better. So, even if this does pass in April and it goes into place, we're not done. We've got more work that we're going to continue to be doing. So with that, I will go ahead and hand the floor over to Councilor Lowe, and then hopefully we'll get started on our votes.
Thank you, Mayor. I know. People don't want to hear from me more on zoning, but this will be the final time I speak on the matter before the April 7th election, I promise, behind this dais anyway. A final thought, or final couple thoughts. Councilor Black is exactly right, by the way. Even if, let's set aside affordability completely, even if the only thing you care about is reducing the carbon footprint of Lakewood, reducing our water consumption, and protecting Lakewood's air and Colorado's air, this code is the single most important thing this council could do in this regard. We know from the data, facts are stubborn things. We know from the data that duplexes, triplexes, this missing middle housing, this gentle density, reduces water consumption by about 50% relative to a comparable single-family detached house. We know that it reduces carbon, it consumes less carbon by about 50% relative to a comparable house. And we know from the Colorado Energy Office projections that growth, across the Denver metro area between now and 2050, 50% of that growth is going to be sprawl that is going to consume trees and green space. And we know that thoughtful missing middle policies like this, allowing duplexes, triplexes, cottage courts, townhomes, and ADUs, that has the potential to cut down on that sprawl by 82% between now and 2050. Gosh, that's an awful lot of trees that we could save. Even if the only thing you care about is building fewer really tall apartment buildings in Lakewood, vote to protect this code. Vote no. Because it will allow gradual meeting of the housing that our city needs, rather than concentrating it, as we heard from with some of the public comments, in just a couple neighborhoods, which is terribly unfair. Let's allow very gradual, incremental, gentle changes, incremental changes over time across our residential communities. That's a much fairer way of doing this, and it will actually prevent demand for large-scale apartment complexes. Even if all you care about is protecting parks, this code puts in place new important protections for birds and for parks that a number of people on council passed. A number of councilors made great points. I thought a lot of great points were made. We do have more to do. I want us to pass a housing affordability fund. We've got a lot of good work that we can do. We're certainly not done. In the Housing Policy Committee, I'm committed to working on a responsible, thoughtful, inclusionary zoning ordinance and dedicated affordable housing fund, and a lot more. Let's do all that stuff. But my friends, when I ran for this job 2.5 years ago, I talked to a lot of folks. I remember vividly walking up, cramped walk-up apartments in some parts of Ward 3. And I remember knocking on a door, and a woman come to the door, and she was a teacher, Jeffco Public Schools, and she was tired. And she looked me in the eye, and she said, "Help me. I'm barely hanging on. I love being a teacher. I love this community. The rent is going up, and I am in this too small walk-up apartment, and I've got a family, and I need more options in this community. I desperately need more options." And I believe with all my heart, because the data shows it, and we know this has worked in other cities, that this code is the single best thing that we could do to increase the supply of affordable housing for people like that teacher. It just is. In a moment, if we had billions and billions of dollars to just throw at this problem, maybe that would be something we could do, but we don't. We do have the ability to in a smart, thoughtful, gradual, incremental way, reform our zoning code to allow people like my constituent Shane and that teacher, and a lot of frontline workers and a lot of seniors to be able to afford to stay in this community. change is scary. This change is very, very, very gradual. We know that from other communities, but we are asking people to take a step forward toward a Lakewood that is more affordable, more sustainable, and more walkable, a Lakewood that is more livable. And I'm asking residents of Lakewood, who every one of you will get a chance to vote, I'm asking you to take that step. Take that step for that teacher that needs to be able to afford to live in this community. Take that step for Shane, who wants to be able to rent out his house so that he can afford to stay here if he loses his job. Take that step to protect and conserve the environment. Take that step to not channel growth just through large-scale apartment buildings, but through equitable, incremental changes like duplexes and triplexes that are responsible and thoughtfully done. Lakewood, I'm asking you to vote no on repeal. Vote no on this rollback. Let's move toward a Lakewood that's actually affordable for our residents. Let's get this done. I know we can do it. We can show Colorado what a thoughtful, well-designed zoning code that actually increases affordability does. So I hope you'll vote no. And I'm looking forward to voting yes on the resolution urging people to vote no. So thank you.
Councilor LeBure.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. Well, I just want to thank Councilor Lowe for his passion. How could I ever top something like that? But I want to just throw out here, I want to put some people's minds at ease because, you've heard from residents and counselors and all sorts of people, all sorts of rhetoric and all sorts of different perspectives. But I do want to be clear. We upzoned Lakewood and deregulated in a big way in 2015. And we did make the city more sustainable. We did pass a development menu to put higher standards. We did increase the building code. But it is a reality that the economics here are a real driver, whether we're going to build or not. And we have to make the case to developers and investors that this is a place where you want to build. And that's not the case we made. We've reduced permits by 70 to 80% in the last 10 years. That's insane. So, and that's not because of a lack of zoning. You can go ask a developer anywhere in the city, why they're not building here, and they're like, well, Lakewood's crazy. I don't want to build there. It takes too long to permit there. I got to deal with the water district who won't give me a permit. So that's all I'm saying. And so I think that's an important piece that we need to be clear with the residents, that this isn't the silver bullet that's going to solve all these problems. And I think that's a real reality that we should acknowledge. And respectfully, Lakewood is currently building slot homes. We are building duplexes. You can go around the city and see them. Particularly, most of them are in Ward 2 right now, but they are spreading. And to the extent they're not, I believe it's because of the economics. I think that's one of the biggest reasons. Because we do have multiple zone districts that do currently allow duplexes throughout the city. Lakewood is building diverse housing, so I think people should feel comfortable with that fact. Can we build more? Can we change the zoning? Can we do more to build more? Yes, but we got to make sure that the residents aren't upset with what we're doing, so that way they keep those policies in place. And then ADUs. Do ADUs allow for people to have multiple families and in their residence? Yes, our ADU law has expanded that ability where you can build as well. So anyway, I just want to point that out, that we have been doing this work for a long time. It didn't start last year. It's been happening for 10 plus years. I mean, it's probably been happening the whole lifetime of the city, but I'm just saying we have been moving in the right direction. So I want people to feel comfortable with that fact that we're going to keep figuring out ways to increase our supply of housing, regardless of what happens.
Councilor Icruz.
Thank you. I mostly wanted to speak again to kind of speak to some of the points around just respecting the human character of all folks in the conversation. But Councilor LeBure left a little, too many crumbs in that for me to totally not respond to some of those points. I get and respect a lot of the work that has been put into the zoning ordinance of years past, but have to agree with Councilor Ryan that, I think if I were to bring that forward in this day and age, I think that there's a lot of things that we've learned about the history of the metro area and the impacts of some of the choices around selecting certain areas for density and leaving other areas completely immune to density, that has had significant impacts in our neighbors in Denver, as well as in our community in ways that have contributed to gentrification and pushing folks out in my very district with many of the types of developments that you have discussed. And further, I'm excited for some of the regulations on slot homes that we put in this code as well to address some of the concerns that there had been in the community. And so I think that just bore restating. But mostly what I wanted to say was whether folks are going to be with the side I'm voting on this or not. I just really did appreciate how so many of you spoke to so many of the conversations that we've had in community. I know I've had a lot of conversations in community with people with whom I agree and with whom I disagree that have espoused the inclusive and caring nature of the city that I have grown to love. Obviously, from what folks have heard in council chambers over the last couple of months, that is not all of the conversations all of us have had. And however this vote goes down, we are all still Lakewood residents together. And I commit to, at least in myself, moving forward in a way that respects the time and effort and the opinions of constituents that are not on the same side of this issue with me, and I hope that we can kind of speak to the different visions of Lakewood we have, rather than some of, as I think Councilor Nystrom spoke to, the vitriol and some of the really harsh rhetoric that we've heard. And so just wanted to say that I do respect and appreciate the time that has gone into bringing us to this point that so many people have brought in, and I'm excited for the voters to weigh in. And I hope that it will be a high turnout election come April 7th.
Okay, everybody, thank you very much. And we are going to now move forward to votes. We have 2 votes to do. First would be the amendment that we discussed, and then separately addressing the resolution as amended if the amendment passes. So please first go ahead and cast your vote for the amendment to consolidate this into one resolution for all 4 ballot questions. All right, that passes 11 yeses and 0 noes. And the next vote would be to vote on Resolution 2026-14 as amended. Please go ahead and cast your votes. All right, that passes 9 yeses, 2 noes, the noes being LeBura and Nystrom. All right, thank you, everybody. Will the clerk please read item 8A into the record?
Second reading and public hearing on item 8A, O 2026-7, declaring the intent of the City of Lakewood to acquire interest in property for public purposes for the construction of storm and sanitary sewer facilities along Yukon Street, Yarrow Street, Allison Street, and along Colfax Avenue from Yarrow Street to Dover Street, and authorizing negotiations with property owners, acceptance of conveyance instruments, and condemnation of real property interests, subject to further council approval.
Okay, thank you. And with this item, I didn't mention earlier, LakewoodSpeaks.org has lots more than just the place where you can go to leave public comments. There is a lot of backup information for the items that we discussed throughout the meeting. There's a staff presentation on LakewoodSpeaks.org for this topic. We will not be receiving a live presentation this evening on this topic. For this, we will go ahead and open it up. I have no one that's signed up to speak to this up here. Would anyone like to speak to this item 8A? Okay, we'll go ahead then and close the public hearing. May I please have a motion?
Mayor, I move for the adoption of Ordinance O-2026-7 on second and final reading.
Second.
Okay, a motion has been made and second. Do we have any council comments or questions? Councilor Cruz.
Thank you. I will be brief, but just wanted to highlight, I think anybody who's attended meetings around the Colfax corridor has heard of the North Dry Gulch project, but just wanted to speak to how important this project is for our Colfax corridor and for Ward 2 neighbors in this area, for mitigating the floodplain, and for making for more economic opportunities, making for safer housing and so much in this area. And so this continued investment represents a historic investment of the city in our north area of Lakewood, and I'm just so grateful to see the continued work on this. So thank you to our Public Works Department, and thank you to all of the folks who are making this big change in our area of town, which I know has caused a lot of construction, but we're getting to a better place.
Councillor Black.
Yeah, as the fellow co-counselor in Ward 2, I just want to echo everything my co-counselor Cruz has said. I've seen actual creative businesses flood. I have seen the relocation of businesses due to issues around the floodplain, and also potential investments or developments that haven't necessarily wanted to come to that area. So I think it's an incredibly important project. And I also just want to echo what my co-counselor said in thanking city staff and our city manager for all the work y'all have done on this project to date. It's been really powerful. It's already been really impactful. And again, I do know we have a lot of construction as well, but for those of us who live and work in Ward 2 and along the West Colfax corridor, the potential for this project when it's completed is just so exciting. So thank you so much for your hard work.
Councillor LeBure.
I would just add, as someone who used to live in Ward 2, this is a long time passion project. Very excited to see this happening. I'm glad where we ended up. The original plans were going to be kind of an open channel throughout, that was going to meander through the city, and I'm really excited how it's turning out. So really excited to see us get further along with this project, and this will be great for the corridor, great for investment in that part of town. So thanks.
All right, thank you. I have no more hands up. Any other discussion? Are we ready to vote? All right, looks like we are ready to vote. Please go ahead and cast your vote. And that passes 11 yeses and 0 nos. Okay, Mr. Fernandez, the floor is yours. We are transitioning now to general public comment. With a comment that we are technically in election season, so campaign-related comments are not allowed in general public comment. But with that, if you approach, give us your name and address, or your name and ward, and we'll get your clock started for 3 minutes.
Alexi Fernandez, Ward 2. Mayor, perhaps there's wisdom when the founding fathers separated the government into 3 branches. I've been wanting and waiting to talk freely and fully since our last local election season, but I keep either being delayed or denied. The arbitrary changing of rules towards the individual is shameful. Take this for example, I was the only one to sign up last meeting for general comments and was denied. And now we are skipping initial comments when I'm once again the only one who wants to speak. I know how initial comments work, and I was clear about wanting to talk, but this time you decided not to ask if anyone else wanted to speak, but completely skipped it instead. I've been coming here for years. Do better, Mayor, please and respectfully. I can say now I can say what I've been wanting to say. Thank you. Fiat justitia ruat calum. Let justice be done, though the heavens may fall. I heard it said that when policy is driven by labels instead of accountability, justice fails, transparency erodes, authority expands unchecked, and our basic human rights begin to dissolve. We have seen it here at home, from the censoring of political opponents during our last local election to the federal enforcement actions that have resulted in the death of American citizens. And now we face legal frameworks that allow people to be questioned or detained based not on behavior, but on appearance, identity, or the sharpness of our words. That is not public safety. This is immoral, and it demands a city council willing to defend the rights of its residents, because our last term council failed to do that. But we also need a council that is not politically captured by developers. For example, the developer PAC Make Lakewood Livable has reported approximately $98,000 in monetary contributions. How can the council take their money and be independent? It just does not work like that. It is unacceptable that a citizen-led resolution can be overturned without a special election in the first place, and it should have been defended in court. Meanwhile, the demands of the large developers are accommodated with ease. We have made ourselves clear we want a green city, and we want big money out of politics. We need a city that truly listens, that puts its residents first, not last. If you can't do your job and skip general public comments, then why are you here if you won't serve? You are public servants, and that is not respectful of our time. I was here till 12:30 last time to talk about ICE. I have 5 minutes. I have 5 seconds. I can't finish it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Clerk, can you help Mr. Fernandez for next time? Is the cutoff for initial public comment 5 p.m. or 6 p.m.?
It's 5 p.m.
5 p.m., Mr. Fernandez. Thank you very much for coming. Okay, that ends. I don't have anybody else signed up for general public comment. Would you like?
I arrived late and didn't get a chance.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And then, Mr. Whiteman, were you raising your hand as well? Yes. Okay. So if you'd like to approach, go ahead and please give me your name and address or your name and ward. We'll get your 3 minutes started. And then on your way out, if you'll stop back there with Ms. Salazar and get signed up. Thank you.
Greg Hartman, live at 8830 West Bear Creek Drive. I'm building a house at 8895 West Bear Creek Drive. Some years ago when we were subdividing the land, we discovered we own property in Estes Street. We reached an agreement with Sheila Lynch, our civil planner, to quit claim the property to the city at no expense. In exchange, the city agreed to waive any sprinkler requirements. I reminded the building department of that when we started our permitting many, many months ago. I have paid $38,000 in permit fees, and this has gone on month after month after month after month after month after month after month. 7 months I've been trying to get this resolved. My SIPs, my structural insulated panels, arrive in 14 days. I don't have any answer on how we're building this house over this sprinkler issue. So I have emailed Mike Jones. I talked to my Ward 5 guys who were great at the meeting 5 weeks ago. I CC'd you on the emails. I've emailed him a couple of times. I've got nothing. I have in 7 months got one email from Mike Jones. He's like Oz. I mean, he's the man behind the curtain, and nothing gets done. So I don't know what to do. I'm at a loss. I'm out of time, and I've got huge risk. And when you talk about, just to tangent for a second, I know you folks, I've been told you adopted the sprinkler requirement because of the Marshall Fire. Do you realize indoor sprinklers do nothing to mitigate fire risk in the Marshall Fire? That's a wildfire. And these sprinklers are inside my house. And the cost of these things, if you have any idea, is about $60,000. The system is about $28,000, and all the construction changes add on another $32-some thousand. You want to talk about affordable housing? You got to be kidding me. That is just massive amounts of money. So I need help. I don't know what else to do. So if anybody knows, I'd love to hear from somebody what I should do to get my house built. That's it. Thank you.
Yes, please sign out on your way out, and we can have someone on staff reach out. Mr. Whiteman.
Nate Whiteman, Ward 5. Anyway, I just want to say thank you for what I just witnessed. All of you. This is what makes it work, right? I think we can all agree the new zoning is not perfect, but I know in my heart it is way, way better. We know the old zoning is not working, right? It has a history of not producing affordability, right? And when you bulldoze a $600,000 home in Lakewood to build a new affordable home, it's going to be $1 million, okay? When we bulldoze a $600,000 home in Lakewood and build 4 homes in Lakewood, right? It's going to be way less per unit, okay? It's just there in the math. So 1 out of 4, 1, U3, 1, U3, residents in Lakewood are living housing cost burdened, right? Obviously, they're not here to talk to you, right? And people on Lakewood Speaks all say, I was there and you didn't listen to me. There's more of us in Lakewood than the few of us who speak on Lakewood Speaks, okay? And then just an aside, I have to agree. I think in-home fire sprinklers we should talk about, so especially with affordability. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and close general.
One more.
Come-
Chantel.
Oh, you've already spoke. Oh, wait, no, sorry, it wasn't general. You're good. Come on. Come on up.
My name is Chantal. I live in Ward 1. I used to think the Constitution was created only by a decorated committee, people like Benjamin Franklin and James Madison, and then that was it. Looking back, I wasn't paying close enough attention. What I understood now is this. Those men were not the source of the Constitution's power. They were its authors, yes, but they were writing and reflecting as representatives of the people. The real force behind the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, including our First Amendment, freedom of speech, came from ordinary people, people like you and me, farmers, tradespeople, small business owners, women, free black people, all of whom realized that rights promised within an empire no longer mattered once they became inconvenient to power. That should sound familiar to America today. What followed was not passive acceptance, but participation. People debated, they wrote letters, they challenged, and nearly rejected the Constitution itself. What made it real was the people's refusal to consent without safeguards and the power of representation when it works. The clearest example came during the ratification debates of 1787 through 88. These weren't famous figures. They were ordinary citizens writing under names like a farmer or the federal farmer who warned, the people are the only safe guardians of their own liberty, but they must understand and insist upon their rights or they will be lost. When people open their eyes and ears, the question becomes unavoidable. What do we want to do with what we learn, and what do we stand for? What I stand for is my daughter and the generations that come after all of us. I participate in community and government because I don't want our children to inherit a country with fewer protections than the ones we were promised. I want my daughter to receive an education that expands her freedom, not one narrowed by underfunding, exclusion, or neglect. I want her health care guaranteed as a basic right, free from discrimination. And I refuse to accept a future where unaccountable decisions and $38 trillion in national debt become the inheritance we leave our children. These are not radical hopes. They are moral ones, and they are foundational to our Constitution. We hold a responsibility to the future. That responsibility only holds if we participate. Participation doesn't require agreement. It looks like this room tonight, people showing up, speaking, and listening. It looks like helping a neighbor, picking up litter at your favorite park, small actions that say this place and this future matter. So I'll leave you with the same question we are forced to ask ourselves just as early Americans were. What do you stand for, and are you willing to participate to protect it? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have now concluded general public comment. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening. That brings us to our general business portion of tonight's meeting, and I believe we do have one item for general business. Councilor Nystrom, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm trying to get to my notes here. And this is an informational item. We have just authorized the Sustainability Committee, and I'm the chair, and I'm very excited about that. I think we have a great group of people we're going to be working with, and I encourage community members to attend the meetings as well and provide your input or reach out to counselors on the committee. We are submitting a letter demonstrating interest in a grant that has become available through CPRG funding, and it will help us try to hit our greenhouse gas reduction goals and improve our waste disposal process at the same time that we're going to try to add additional services such as composting and yard waste cleanup. We have a lot of really qualified people on staff, and MJ in particular knows everything you could ever possibly want to know about waste and how to recycle, and I think that's just fantastic. This is a rare opportunity in the current environment where Colorado has received $50 million in this particular grant. And again, my focus also is on the enhanced producer responsibility requirement that is now a state mandate. And I think this will go a long way to help us figure out how we're going to get there, formulate the plan, and put it into place. So I would appreciate everyone's support, and hopefully we will be able to move forward on this. If we are able to receive the grant, it will come back before council before any action is taken. So,
Thank you. Do we have any council questions? All right, seeing none. Executive report?
Yes, thank you. I just have two quick things. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge and recognize someone on staff, and that's Victoria Desser. We had our retreat last weekend, and Victoria herself did all the heavy lifting to make sure that City Council was well fed and well hydrated. And I just want to thank her for her good work and her lovely attitude. I thanked her today, and she said she really enjoyed it. So that's good and special. So thanks to Victoria. I'm really excited to make this announcement. We found out this morning, and I'll read this, the president signed the Emory Community Project funding request into law, and that amounts to $1.5 million for the Emory project, which is wonderful news. The people at the Action Center are absolutely delighted, and we are the partner agency that actually sponsored that application. So we've had lots of applications where we weren't successful in, and this was sponsored by our Representative Brittany Pedersen. So a big thank you to her and her office, and also to the president for signing this 1.5 into law. So thank you. Great news. And that's it. Thank you.
All right, very exciting news. Thank you very much. And that brings us to the point in our evening for City Council reports. So we'll go ahead and start off with Ward 1. That one.
We are having office hours on Friday. We typically have our ward meetings the first Saturday of the month, but because we had our planning council retreat, we weren't able to have it the first Saturday, and then the church was booked up the rest of the Saturdays, so we then punted and are doing office hours that are full. They all just want to sit and talk with us, so that's pretty cool. And I'll also say March, just so people can have it on their radar, we're going to have a combined wards 1 and 2 meeting, and that date will be coming. I didn't bring my March what? 19th. 6 p.m. We'll tell you the place.
Okay, just a couple of things. For 15 years, I have been slugging it out to register my kids for summer camp. I know how stressful and resilient you need to be in that process. And I just wanted to remind families that Lakewood Summer Camp registration opens at 12 p.m. on the 17th. My kids have participated in a number of great camps. They offer something of interest for everyone. The Denver Regional Council of Governments is sponsoring the Winter Bike to Work Day, which will be happening on February 13th. And there will be a station in Addenbrook Park from 7 to 9 a.m. So for those who are willing to ride their bike in the winter, stop by and visit. And then finally, part of the role of the Mayor Pro Tem is to serve on the Lakewood Community Grants Program. And applications are open now until the 31st of March. It is an absolute pleasure to be able to participate in that and see all the great work that's coming and serving our community and our nonprofit partners. And so encouraging folks to take a look at that application and see if you're eligible. And that's it for me.
Ward 2.
Okay. I just have two quick updates. So our upcoming Ward 2 meeting will be on Thursday, February 19th from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Washington Heights Arts Center, and we will be meeting with Lakewood Housing and Thriving Communities Manager Chris Connor to talk about the opening of the new Navigation Center in Ward 2 that's slated to open by the end of February. And then my co-counselor Cruz and myself also have a new Ward 2 newsletter. We just released our first issue, and if you'd like to receive that newsletter, you can email either or both of us to sign up. Thank you.
Thank you. I will just add, because I know some folks came last time to speak on this issue, and we had a constituent that came today to speak on this issue. I know there's a lot of concern that has been present for a while in our community around the presence of ICE and of kind of mounting immigration enforcement that is affecting people in Lakewood. And I just want to remind everybody that with all of the things that have been swirling on social media, I know some reports at the Walmart on Wadsworth and Colfax went really viral last week. It's really important that we are sharing credible information, that we're getting good pictures, that we're checking in, because this fear really compounds a lack of safety that a lot of folks already have that's very tangible in our community. And so sometimes sharing information can feel like the best thing we can do when we don't have a lot of power, but we really have to make sure what we're sharing with folks is accurate. And so the hotline to report that is 1-844-864-8341 for the Colorado Rapid Response Network. If you see anything, take pictures, send it to them, make sure you have the most amount of information possible. And I'm also happy to help verify. Our police were very helpful when I sent them information about some of the pictures folks were sending from Wadsworth and Colfax, and they let us know that it was a different law enforcement operation that did not have anything to do with ICE. And so please, just in this time of fear, in this time of many of our neighbors being snatched off the streets, let's make sure that we're sharing out the right information and using trusted channels. Thank you.
Ward 3.
Yes, Ward 3. So we will be having our Ward 3 meeting February 17th at 5:30 p.m. at Lakewood Social House. We'll be having the Lakewood Economic Development Director, Will Chan, joining us, specifically talking about economic development, small business relations in Belmar, as well as Alameda Corridor and within Ward 3. So if that is something that interests you, please plan to attend or come have conversations with me and Councilor Lowe. And then I also want to mention earlier this month, February 4th, had 2 community tables, those topics specifically covering streets and safety and small business. I just want to thank everyone who attended those. Not only did great ideas and solutions come forward, but one of the biggest things that come out of these conversations is the availability to connect neighbors and build community. And that leads me into the 3rd community table, which is February 18th. And this one is specifically for community connection. So if you find yourself as an individual who wants to build community in our city, this is one that I highly encourage you to attend. That is, again, February 18th at 6 p.m. at Lakewood Social House.
Thank you, Councilor Cruz. I have nothing to add other than I am looking forward to the meeting, the February 17th, Tuesday, 5:30 meeting at Lakewood Social House with Will Chan, our Economic Development Director, and we hope to see you there. Thank you.
Ward 4.
So this is going to be somewhat backwards looking. We've, in the past couple weeks, there was our Ward 4 meeting that was presented by Will Chen, and was an excellent opportunity for people to engage with what economic development, what's happening within it and what we can look forward to. A lot of people brought valuable questions about upcoming economic development efforts. I will also say on the 29th, there was the open house around Hayden Park, and it was very well attended, which was great. And other people have been reaching out. Obviously, in the end, I direct them to community resources. I don't know. I'm happy to attend those and try and stay up to date. But frankly, the people with parks and community resources are really the experts on the way it's going. But it is going to be an ongoing thing. And the one thing that they did comment about is that it's still in process. So people have expressed great interest in what the outcome will be, and I recommend they continue to do so. Councilor Ryan and I are looking at trying to get more of our Ward 4 meetings have moved around a little bit on dates as we've tried to accommodate different things, but we're working to set it to a specific date and try and hold to that to make it easier to track. And so very soon we will announce our next ward meeting and try and hold to that date relative to its position in the month. And we'll get that announced as soon as we can. Thanks.
I don't have much to add other than just thank you very much to the city for making staff available at our Ward 4 meetings, which are sometimes on weekends, and so they're giving up some of their time, and so we're very grateful to have Will Chen be able to talk to us. And I will say Councilor Furman, in his usual understated manner, undersold just how amazing the turnout was for the Green Mountain Trails discussion. There was a little bit of misinformation, but as Community Resources said, whatever is going to get people to turn out, that's great. But no, we had a fantastic turnout. There was an incredible number of staff that were able to address people's questions, and I would encourage everyone to stay very active on those things. If there's another thing that we all agree on, we all love our parks, so please stay engaged on that. It's going to be a multi-year process, but this is the time to get engaged if you haven't. And if I was to read Councilor K. Cruz's mind, he would also remind us to shop local for Valentine's Day.
Ward 5.
Yeah, so Ward 5, we have our ward meeting this Saturday, so I hope you'll join us. It's going to be on Valentine's, so come show your love and bring me candy. We're going to have donuts and coffee. It's going to be great. It's at Westwood Community Church, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. And I just want to thank the council. I think we had a great retreat, I think, this weekend, Friday through Saturday. I'm actually really excited about it. I think it was fairly narrowly tailored, but I think it's going to be very impactful. I think it's one of the most impactful strategy sessions I've seen the city go through, so I'm pretty excited about it. Looking forward to 2026 and all the great things to come. Thank you.
All right, and yes, our ward meeting is this Saturday, and I promise to do my level best to get pink donuts, so please join us. And I want to reiterate, the open house at Hayden Park was like mind-blowing, and me being somewhat vertically challenged, like I couldn't even get near the flip charts to see what was on there and add dots or anything like that, but it was great. That's very encouraging. I also want to say that, I don't know how to say this in a measured manner, but it is looking very promising that the Bear Creek Lake Park project to retain more water is starting to look more and more like it will be the 300 acre foot, which is unbelievable. And Katie Gill and Don Baumgart, if you don't know who they are, have led this effort for a long time. What are we on, year 7 of a 5-year or a 3-year plan or something? So I'm keeping my fingers and toes crossed, but that's very encouraging news. I also want to say, like, please visit the sustainability website. The city website is very much improved. It's very easy to find things now, and I appreciate all the work that went into that. I know it was rather arduous. I've been through that process myself. But some of the things that are on the website that you may not be aware of, there is a food waste drop-off program that has started. It's $5 a month. Let me just go through this. The city sites that are open, there's Ward 1, Quail Street Recycling, Ward 2, Charles Whitlock Rec Center, Ward 3, Lakewood Link Rec Center, Ward 4, Ute Trail Park, and Ward 5, Carmody Rec Center. So it's a great way to reuse your food scraps to the benefit of everyone and keep them out of landfills. There's also the program there to get a free energy assessment on your house, which is like pivotal. If you haven't done so, I'd really encourage you doing it. I learned a lot in that process and definitely improved the efficiency of my own home. And of course, the Sustainable Neighborhoods Program. Applications are now open and they are due by March 2nd. And there will be 2 neighborhoods that will be invited to join. And if there was ever a great program to build community, that's it. So I would encourage you all to ask your ward members to step up and sign up for their neighborhood. And as far as the Ward 4 ward meeting, we are going to look at a Ward 5, Ward 4 combined meeting, and we are going to have a, Katie will be talking about composting at that meeting, so we just have to coordinate the dates and her availability, and we'll get that scheduled. So, thank you.
All right. I want to start with a huge shout out to staff. For anyone who has traversed South Wadsworth Boulevard, south of Jewel, down towards Yale-ish for quite some time. We've had big, huge orange cones, and all for a very good reason, but it felt like forever. But very excited. One of our newest parks, Peakview Park, has now I know there's still some finishing touches that need to be done on the work, but all the cones are gone. Traffic can move through quite freely now, and access through this project has been quite a bit increased because we can now access the park coming south. So I'm very excited, and one of the things that I really love that the city does is so many projects all in one. It gave us the opportunity to bury cables, electric cables, Comcast cables, you name it, adding retention pond that was needed, making curb cuts for accessibility in a number of areas. So many things were improved, and adding sidewalk to a part of our city that didn't have sidewalk before, so increasing connectivity by foot. So very exciting to see that project. I just want to say thank you so much, as we have our Director of Public Works here in the room, and I know she did a lot of work on that. Also, as Councilor LeBeer pointed out, we just finished our strategic planning retreat for 2026, and very exciting. I will agree, it felt good coming home on Saturday night. Like, we've been operating out of need to do, react to this, react to that. It was so nice to just sit down, all 11 of us, including city manager and our deputy city manager, and really coalescing around the state of things now and how council would like to see us move forward. And I will say that it doubled down on our commitment for addressing homelessness across our community. So for those of you that are still seeing this as a challenge, we know that the numbers are growing. We know that the response that the city has had has been growing quite a bit. However, we still have a challenge that we want to address and solve. So very excited with that, in addition to addressing waste and revenue and some other things. And I'll say the other one I'm very excited about is the conversation that actually spent a lot of time on West Colfax. So looking at economic development, having a thriving community, and realizing that our neighbors up on West Colfax are living next to a corridor that has in many ways been forgotten or neglected. And we're very excited to look at how we can do things differently to start to improve that very beloved, very fun cultural corridor. So with that, one announcement that we do not have a meeting next week. It is a President's Day holiday, so do not tune in, or if you do, you won't find us here. So we'll see everybody in a couple of weeks. And with that, we've got no further business, so I will go ahead and adjourn us at 8:57.